Yahoo! Welcome, my beautiful brothers and sisters, fellow radiators of love, to Astro Fenixx, flying into the moment yet again, and radiating love as always. And in this video, I thought I just wanted to take some time to acknowledge the new year, to acknowledge stepping into 2020, stepping into a new decade, and kind of this whole vibration of the new year, new me thing. Because you see this every year pretty much. You see everyone talking about new year, new me, and I wanted to talk about this. And I kind of wanted to address a couple of things with this. Why people say that, why for some reason in the time of winter we decide to do this whole new year, new me thing. And while yes, we may not be on, I guess, some people might think that we're not even on the right timeline, so to speak. A lot of people like to, everyone has different New Years and stuff like that. You know, the Chinese New Year is at the end of January. It's like, I think January 25th to 26th. Some countries have the New Year in April or September or whatever it is. So it seems like all these different cultures have a different New Year. And it's kind of interesting because when you look at a circle, you can't really tell where the beginning or the end is. If you look at like a true, authentic circle, you can't really tell where the beginning or end is. So and we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about this whole new year, new me thing, what it really means, and kind of what it means for each of the signs, and how each of the signs approaches the new year, and what aspect of them, although it'll affect everyone's full chart, but particularly what chart do certain signs particularly hone in on? What houses do they particularly hone in on when it's the new year, new me? So what does it even mean? Well, it means this time where, of course, we go from December 31st to January 1st. And yes, this occurs during the time of Capricorn season, which is the 10th sign of the zodiac. And you'll, of course, you see it every year now, especially people within the spiritual community or astrological community. They be like, oh, the real year starts when the sun reaches Aries. And that is true because, yes, Aries is the first sign of the zodiac, and yes, that is when we begin to spring forward. And that's when things begin, like, everything begins to get hotter and stuff like that. But, of course, a lot of people are on, the sort of Gregorian calendar, which puts the first date of the year pretty much in the middle of Capricorn season. So, and not right in the middle. It's more like at the end of like the first week, essentially, of Capricorn season. And this may seem weird. Now, why would the first of something, which is supposed to bring about newness, was supposed to bring about freshness, occurs during the time, or at least here in the northern hemisphere, when it's winter. At least in the southern hemisphere, it's summer. So I mean, there's still that whole aspect, but neither of these seem to occur during, these the equinoxes, the spring equinox or the fall equinox, where you can argue that will be the first of the year. But the reason why, astrologically, why people like to say new year, new me, when it turns into a new year is because it is Capricorn. And what is Capricorn? Capricorn is about our goals. It's about our career. It's about our purpose in many ways. It rules the natural midheaven, so it's like this area in our chart that we're aiming to become. So naturally, whenever this time of the year comes, the beginning of the year, we are aiming for a new version of ourselves. We're aiming for these new visions. These visions that we had gained during Sagittarius season, and now we want to, of course, implement them in Capricorn season. So it makes perfect sense why in the beginning of the year, everyone's making their resolutions. Everyone's trying to make all these different changes and stuff. But what's interesting about this energy is that Capricorn is cardinal Earth. Really, a lot of the changes that we're supposed to make are supposed to happen in Sagittarius season, which is mutable fire. This is about having the ability to adapt with our beliefs. So after we adapt with our beliefs, we can begin to take true action during Capricorn season. Not so much that this is the time where we make resolutions. We really, if you make a resolution, it's a change, right? It's a revolution. And, that's apparently, another revolution around the sun. But everyone also has a different kind of new year. That's another thing I want to talk about. we celebrate the new year collectively, a lot of us, on January 1st, but everyone has a different new year. That's your solar return. So in many ways, you can kind of look at it like that. It's, you know, we acknowledge it on a collective level, but of course everyone has their own individual. But it makes sense, right? That astrologically, when we reach January 1st of any year, everyone's wanting to make resolutions. But sometimes it's harder to make resolutions based off of where the mutable energy is. And many times we're supposed to make these resolutions during the mutable seasons. It is actually the time for us to, you know, kind of make these changes based off of the previous fixed season, in this case Scorpio, you know. So during Scorpio season, that's fixed waters, so we are fixated on how we felt about things and how we react to certain things. But Scorpio is also a sign of transformation. It's interesting how the sign of transformation is a fixed energy. So then you take this transformation in the Sagittarius season, and based off of what you believe, you make certain changes to your lifestyle so you can reflect what it is that you really want and what you're aiming for. Thus, when you reach Capricorn season and you reach the first of the year, you're already making changes and you're already implementing them. But the issue here is that a lot of times the reason why people fail, not only it's a lack of integrity, you know. And just because someone lacks integrity with something doesn't make them a bad person. We all have lapses in our integrity, but Capricorn rules integrity. This is especially important with like the integrity of our word, the integrity of our actions, especially actions. You got to think about this because Mars, the planet of action, the planet of the self, of the person in many ways, is exalted in Capricorn. So it makes sense where we want to aim for this exaltation of our character whenever it reaches January 1st of whatever year it is. So this year, when the sun reached Capricorn season, and this year when the sun reached where the position it was on January 1st, which I could look it up real fast to see what degree exactly the sun was at. Give me 1 second. The sun was at 10 degrees of Capricorn. So this is another thing. Now, here's the thing. The degrees of the zodiac have been slowly changing over countless millennia. So the sun, as of lately will be at 10 degrees or so of Capricorn whenever it reaches, you know, January 1st. And 10 is actually the number of manifestation. So by the time that the first of the year comes, we already have manifested who we are going to be going into that new year. So it's kind of interesting. We already have manifested who we're going to be going into the new year. So this whole strain of trying to create resolutions and trying to resolve our character or trying to, evolve our character, it's kind of interesting because it's like we already kind of have done it going into it. With it being 10 degrees, this number of manifestation, which is this Taurus-like energy as well, right? You got to think about that. You bring the 1 and the 0 together. The 1, which is represented by the heart, and the 0, which is represented by our boundaries and infinite potential. This is about, allowing our heart to express itself with this incredible infinite potential, and we really can be whatever we want. This is why some people do make New Year's resolutions and they actually stick to them. But a lot of people tend to not do that. They tend to not do that. They crumble under the pressure. I've done this. I think everyone's done this. They crumble under the pressure. They crumble under societal expectations, because that's a whole other thing. It's like everyone's aiming for something, but Capricorn, it does rule status too. So they may be worried about their status with certain groups of people while they're doing their resolutions. What will this person think? What would that person think? They crumble under pressure because they want to be accepted. But it makes sense. Like I said, I will say it multiple times throughout this video. Why we make New Year's resolutions? It's because it's Capricorn season and everyone wants to be something. Everybody wants to have the good life. And yes, Capricorn too. That's the other thing about it. Capricorn, it rules time. So it's kind of interesting how in many ways we reset time in a sense. With all these different cycles, we have all kinds of different cycles. We have the day, which is a cycle. Like there are cycles within cycles. You have minutes, hours, days, weeks, months, years, decades, centuries, millennia, all the way up, and then all the way down to the infinitesimally small where we really can't detect it. There are cycles within cycles. So another cycle begins whenever you reach January 1st. And of course, everyone is wanting to be a new person. Everyone's wanting to express what they've learned, because Sagittarius is also about learning. It's the teacher and the student in many ways. You could think of the student kind of as Gemini, but Sagittarius is the student and the teacher. It's the lifelong student that may be a professor or a teacher, but knows that they ultimately are the student, you know? So it's like we take all of this stuff that we've learned during Sagittarius season. We go into Capricorn season, and now it's time to apply what we have learned. It's time to apply these things, and whether or not we really do believe in ourselves, whether we really do believe that we can have a good year, a positive year, an uplifting year, a successful year. Now, of course, success looks different to everybody. But what's interesting about this particular one is that you kind of want to look at where Mars is in conjunction to the new year, as well as Saturn. Well, let's look at it. Mars was in Scorpio. Mars loves to be in Scorpio. It was at the tail end of Scorpio. So there was a lot of intensity here. A lot of intensity within our emotions and how we're reacting and responding to things in a sort of fixated way, but with like a Mars-like attitude. Which means that people were super passionate about their boundaries. There are people for this New Year's resolution, especially going into a new decade too, that's the other added bit to this, the added juice to this. People have been super serious about manifesting a new them. They've been super serious about transforming who they are. And they've been reacting to this in a rather intense way. And it was at 28 degrees, another manifestation point, because 2 + 8 = 10. All reduces back to 1, but it's another manifestation point. So not only was the sun at a 10-degree net degree, but so was Mars, and it was in Scorpio. Interesting stuff. Like I said, Mars is exalted in Capricorn. So you kind of want to look at where Mars is in conjunction to the new year. You also, of course, want to look at where Saturn is, the ruler of Capricorn. And where was Saturn? Smack dab in Capricorn. Oh wait, is that Pluto there though? Big bad Pluto? Were they convening with each other? I'm telling you, going into this new year was literally us walking into the club, right? You see all the lights, you see all the action, all of the drinks and stuff and the smoke, and then it's like we got this invitation to go up to this other balcony, right? Or down to a lair, if you want to view it as that. To go up to this balcony, and each and every one of us, in many ways, had like a wish, you know? And a lot of times, you know, whenever we get to this point, you know, Saturn's not always there. Saturn has a long cycle. It's like 29 years. Pluto has even longer cycles. So the fact that we reach this point, right, and Saturn and Pluto are there, means that when we went to the big Jefe, the boss, on New Year's and asked for a wish, Pluto was right there next to him. So this made this whole situation that much more intense and probably rather uncomfortable, because it's like whatever wish we're wishing for, whatever we're wanting, Pluto is like, okay, what are you going to give to me though? What are you going to give up? What are you going to give in order to receive? What are you going to allow to be destroyed in your life so you can actually get this thing? So we're sitting there in front of Saturn, who's in the main chair, and then Pluto's behind him chilling, and we're just like, no pressure. No pressure. But you know who also was there too? You had Mercury there. You had Jupiter there. Of course the sun's there, but you're the sun, so that's really what it represents. But the sun was like smack between these energies. So you have Saturn and Pluto on one side. You have Mercury and Jupiter on the other side. Not to mention the South Node is there. So we're like dragging like some luggage with us too. We're dragging luggage with us to this meeting with Saturn and Pluto. Meanwhile, Jupiter And meanwhile, Mercury and Jupiter are kind of like at the bottom of the stairs going up to this balcony where they are. And they're like cracking jokes and shit to each other because they love each other. They're cracking jokes to each other and stuff. And they're like kind of trying to give us some advice and stuff like that. They're warming us up. It's like good cop, bad cop. You know, Mercury and Jupiter in this case, they kind of play, it's sort of like good cop, bad cop. Like they're kind of the good cops and the people up there are kind of like the bad cops, right? They're like priming us to go in there. But what's interesting about this is that Jupiter is not really in a place that it likes to be. So Jupiter's even kind of feeling, so Mercury's almost trying to keep things chill or like that, because Mercury, you know, yes, it falls in certain signs like Sagittarius and Pisces and stuff, but Mercury kind of, it can be a little bit fluid. Mercury has some charisma, you know. Mercury can kind of be really whatever you want it to be, in a sense, you know. Mercury will play that role, you know. So it's kind of an interesting energy going into this new year, because I think we all can sense the intensity of 2020. We can all sense the intensity of going into a new decade, and how this past decade was really this decade of massive healing and purging. Not saying that this new decade, the 2020s, won't be, but the 2010s was a huge year of self-discovery. The 2020s is going to be a huge year of applying self-discovery. So, and we all are still waking up, we're all still evolving, but those individuals who wake up stereotypically in the 2020s, they are kind of, there's going to be some groundwork kind of laid out for them as far as how to kind of navigate these energies, right? Those who woke up in the 2010s or the 2000s or the 1990s or the 80s or whatever like that, you know, they've been laying the groundwork for these 2020s. And now with the 2020s, it's going to become increasingly harder to kind of stay asleep, especially once Neptune goes into Aries. Especially when Neptune goes into Aries. We got about 5 to 6 years of increased anesthesia, I would say. But by the time that Neptune comes into Aries, folks, I'm telling you, it's going to be a whole new ball game. We have Uranus and Taurus. By that time, I think Saturn will be in Pisces. It's going to be some intense energies. And we're going to be officially cutting off, you know, we're going to officially really be moving into the new age. If we're not already there, but we're in the dawn of the new age. So now that we're in the dawn of a new year, what is 2020 going to really be about? 2020, it is the year of application. Is the year of honest application. That's what I'm going to see it as. It's going to be the year where you take a lot of risks and you're going to make some mistakes. But it is going to be this year of honest application and the testing of our integrity. No pressure, but this is not a bad thing at all. It can be intense because if we're not honest with ourselves and we don't really apply these new truths in this belief in ourselves, if we don't apply our integrity and really work towards the things that we say we will, then we're going to notice this deeper slip into depression, mental illnesses, self-loathing, poor self-esteem. And this is also going to be the year of seriously seeing what you're truly capable of. I mean, you can say this is a theme for every year, but especially I feel like for this year, one of the big themes is like, if you fall down, will you get back up? If you fall down, will you get back up? This is going to be the year of, this is a huge testing ground year. 2019 was sort of like the preliminary. 2019 was really just the entrance exam to get into the school, right? It was just the entrance exam. 2019 was the year where you received your letter from Hogwarts or not. Okay? Alright. And I promise you, you're watching this right now, you're listening to this, you got your letter. You got your letter. Okay? Even if you're not watching this, you got your letter. Congratulations, you made it to 2020. Okay? You made it to 2020. You know, you got your letter. So now that we've made it into the school, that doesn't mean just because making it's only like a quarter of the battle, maybe a quarter of the battle. Now it's about this is sort of like you were like the best in your class, and then you make it to another league, and you realize that you're just average again. So it's like no longer can you simply do the things that you did before. You have to kind of kick it up a notch, right? So it's like if you have been putting in the work, especially this past decade, if you have been putting in the work, continue to put in the work. But also, do not be afraid to adjust your plans. Do not be afraid to fail. Do not be afraid to take multiple cracks at something, to have multiple attempts at something. And don't give up. Don't give up, okay? When I say don't give up, what I mean is do not sell yourself short, okay? Some things you might have to give up and release, all right? But by giving up and releasing certain things, we actually are setting ourselves up, and we don't have to sell ourselves short. This video honestly took a different turn than I thought it was going to. But I'm going to roll with it and go with the flow because this is just the message that's coming out. This is the message that is needed. This is the year of honest application. Honest application. And this is a year where, in many ways, we're kind of taking a step back in a sense. If you have been a teacher for a long time, you're going to become the student again. Right? This is going to be sort of the year where we all kind of start back on level 1 in a sense. But here's the thing though. Those of you who have been putting in the work and have been laying the groundwork for this evolution and for this revival and awareness, and for people to truly realize like the power of who they are and stuff, that doesn't mean that everything that you did this past decade is going to go away. It just means that we all are kind of starting from level 1. We've laid the groundwork and we sort of like created, we have given ourselves tools and we have given ourselves maps to kind of navigate the next 10 years. Okay? But we all are having to kind of start from level 1 again. So those of you who have been in the game for a while, you may find it easier to kind of get through the first few levels, right? There are going to be prodigies that are just going to show up over the next 10 years, people that just kind of come out of the blue. You'll be really surprised. They're going to be prodigies that, of course, are born during this decade. My God. But 2020 is going to be this year where it's like, you're going to try some big things. And you're going to have victory. You're definitely going to have some victories, but there's going to be some failures. And within those failures, you have to remain valiant and have the courage to get up anyways, to keep moving forward. Here's the thing, though, too, about it. I'm not trying to, put aside needing to heal from things or needing to process our emotions. I'm not putting that aside. But we are coming into a sort of critical moment in our history, right? Or her story, whatever you want to call it. Her story, his story. We're coming to a critical time, where we aren't afforded as much time to sit down and contemplate and process how we feel about things. Okay? I'm not saying that this whole energy is going away, because in reality, the divine feminine energy is becoming more powerful, and as a result, the divine masculine energy is having to refine itself. It's having to redefine itself again so it can match the divine feminine energy, right? So, but this is coming to a time where we're not going to have as much time to sit and sulk. We're not going to have as much time to sit and moan, to sit and just to sit with our feelings as much. This may be a bit of a harsher truth that I'm kind of channeling right now, but we're not going to have as much time. I'm not saying to just forget about your emotions and neglect your emotions. I'm not saying that at all. I'm not saying to if you feel bad, to just not feel bad about things. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying that the time that we have to do these things and to kind of get back up on our feet, to get back up on that horse and ride off and go get it, the time is becoming shorter because the opportunities are becoming that much more particular. The synchronicities are becoming that much more particular. And in many ways, the bullseye that we're trying to land our arrow on is becoming in many ways smaller. But that's just a perception. It's not necessarily getting smaller. It's not necessarily getting smaller. But it's kind of almost like becoming further away from us. Or it's going to seem like it's getting further away from us. But this is actually going to allow us to see just how powerful our vision is, how powerful our hand-eye coordination is, our trust and belief in ourselves to hit that target, no matter how small it gets, no matter how difficult it gets. I'm getting an image of someone pulling back and everyone trying to hit a target, and there's people and cars running, going between the target, and they're trying to they're trying to concentrate because they got to let that arrow at just the right time to skip past all of those obstacles and hit that bullseye. That is this year. And if you don't hit the bullseye this year, do not worry or be afraid. Because I don't think many people will even hit the bullseye. But I think people will get very close. I think everyone will hit the board at least once, right? You may be kind of on the outskirts of it, but damn it, you're going to feel good about it. There are going to be victories, there are going to be small little victories within even defeats. You may do something and you may get defeated, but you may realize that there was actually a victory in there. It may not have came out exactly the way that you wanted to, but there was still a small victory in there. Gratitude is going to be very important. Forgiveness is going to be very important this year. It's always very important, but those are going to be very important. Forgiveness, I would say, is probably going to be is probably going to be very, very important, because gratitude and forgiveness, I feel like they go hand in hand, right? But especially with forgiveness for this year, forgiving things an honest effort this year, and applying our integrity in this way. Even when we fall short, we have to be willing to forgive ourselves in those moments. Oh, I'm not good enough. Oh, I should have hit that target. I should have did that thing. I should have talked to that person. Why didn't I do that? Man, I can't forgive myself for that. Yes, you can. Because it's that forgiveness of yourself that's actually going to allow you to continue to move forward and to take that shot again. Don't give up. Don't give up. It's a new year. Everyone's making the New Year's resolutions, myself included. Whether we write it out on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or LinkedIn or TikTok or not, whether we actually explicitly say it out loud, everyone's making New Year's resolutions. Everyone's making them. Moon was in Pisces too during this time. During the New Year. Moon was in Pisces conjunct Neptune. Which means that our dreams, we're really feeling our dreams. We're really feeling like things are possible. We're feeling the fantasy. We're feeling the magic. Don't you know that you are magic? Don't you know that you are a conduit of magic? So how does this affect all the signs, though? How does this affect all the signs? Well, we got to look at how all the signs kind of, express themselves or experience this whole new year, new me type of thing. Capricorn. If you are a Capricorn, if you're a Capricorn rising, this can't apply to the moon, but I'm mainly focusing on the sun and the rising. For Capricorns, whenever it hits a new year, the whole new year, new me thing is actually very true. It's in their first house of the self. So it really is a new year. It really is a new me. They are wanting to become a new person. They really are. Capricorns experience this directly. This is why Capricorns, they may start to act differently. They may start to invest their time in different things. They may start to not invest their time in certain things because time is super important to a Capricorn. Don't waste a Capricorn's time because they'll bitch slap you. And a Capricorn is not going to waste time to make these decisions. and to really embrace this whole new year, new me thing. Capricorns experience it like that. Sagittarius, this is their second house. So Sagittarius, when a Sagittarius says new year, new me, this predominantly comes through their self-worth. And it can come through their money too, because you think about it, Capricorn is about success, but the second house does in many ways rule like physical, like wealth and material goods and money and self-worth and self-value. So Sagittarius says a lot of times will get new jobs, for the new year. Maybe even start their own business around the new year. But it's almost like they almost sort of approach this new year in many ways in that sort of attitude where it's like, they're going to start to value themselves differently. And of course, based off of the way that they value themselves, whether it's positive or negative, kind of determines how the new year is going to go and the new me that they sort of come into. Scorpio, this is their third house. So for Scorpio, when you hear new year, new me, they're really thinking about their mental realm, their thoughts, and really, how they think about themselves, how they think about, their communication, what they're saying. So a lot of times, Scorpios will actually do the whole, oh yeah, it's a new year, new me. They're more willing to communicate it than some of the other signs. Even though Scorpios can be a bit secretive, when it hits the new year and the sun's in their third house, they're definitely willing to talk about it. It's one of the more social times for a Scorpio, actually, is when the new year hits and it's Capricorn season, because now they can talk about all these different things, right? But they have to watch what they're saying, and for Scorpio, it's really important, the integrity of their word for the new year, new me. If a Scorpio says something and they do it, they feel great about it. If they say something and they don't follow through, they have a tendency to beat themselves up over it constantly. And this can cause them to become cold and reserved and shut off. Just saying. Libra. Libras, this is your fourth house. Libras, this is your fourth house. So Libras, they experience this through their family and their sanctuary. So whenever it's a new year, new me thing, Libras tend to kind of overhaul where they live. A Libra will most certainly try to change up the energy in their home. They may move their bed to another corner. They may take down some old posters and put some new ones up. They may put out some candles to kind of like, get like a new scent and a new vibe into the place. What we used to do growing up is that we used to open the doors and the windows and let the old year out and let the new year in. That's something that we used to do. My mom's a Libra, my dad's a Virgo, so it's kind of interesting energy how it happened that way. But Libras usually experience this in their sanctuary. So for Libra, if they go into the new year and they kind of feel like their family may be in a disarray, what about that? All of our families are crazy, right? But for Libra, when it comes to this whole new year, new me thing, it really is about the sanctuary and the home and the sort of like, this is the fourth house. So, this is ruled by the moon. This is their emotions and how they're reacting and stuff. They may want to start to react differently than they did before, because those reactions can lead to certain circumstances, which may lead to other actions and reactions that they take or other people take that can affect them in however which way. So the sanctuary and the reforming of the sanctuary in the home is super important to Libras during the new year. Virgo, this is the fifth house. Virgos become inspired during the new year. Okay, this is the fifth house. They're wanting to be more creative. They're feeling more passionate. They're feeling the love. So Virgos may indeed actually fall in love in the new year. They have a tendency to they're definitely on the lookout for love and romance, right? But this is also about their creativities and their passions. So a Virgo may get inspired to write a book or to write a song or to do whatever it is that they're passionate about during the new year. That's where it predominantly comes through, is through their creativity. And they can be very intense about it too. Virgo has to be worried, has to, be cautious about, they really need to just kind of focus on themselves, honestly. They need to kind of go into hermit mode, because if a Virgo is so focused on, you know, giving unsolicited advice to other people's resolutions and stuff like that. And other people are saying, like, oh, I'm going to do this. Like, oh, and Virgo might be like, oh, maybe you should do that. You know, giving unsolicited advice, which Virgo has a tendency to do sometimes. Love you, Virgo, but you do this. The new year is really time for you to focus on your creativity and your passions and stuff. So what is it that you really want to do? What is it that makes you feel like a little kid again? Right? That's Virgo. Leo, this is your 6th house. So the whole new year, new me thing for Leo is really about their health, right? It's about their health. It's about their service to humanity. Leos may feel inspired to want to give back and to, you know, to do something for the community in a sense, but it's also about their health. So, and this really makes a lot of sense if you think about it, because when you think of Leos, yeah, a lot of times you think of actors and actresses, and you know how they have to do certain health regimens to get ready for certain films and movies. And the new year, in many ways, is like a movie. It's a new movie, and the Leos kind of approach it as that way. So they have to get themselves in shape for this new movie, for this new role. So that's how Leos will experience this, is through, you know, their health. You know, Leos are going to be ones like, oh, I got to get that beach bod, because that's their season, you know. It's summertime so Leos especially are the ones that are making a lot of the health decisions and the different health choices, so they can get that beach bod, so they're shining during their natural season of Leo in the summertime. Makes sense? Let's move forward. Cancer. This is your 7th house. So for Cancer, the whole new year, new me has a lot to do with not even you. It has to do with your relationships, which can make you seem kind of selfless in a sense, Cancer. You know, but the danger here is that you may turn yourself into somebody because you care about someone, but the person that you turn yourself into may not be who you actually are. So you have to be wary about the people that you're communicating with and the relationships that you have and the roles that these people play in your life. Yeah, and you have to be honest with yourself about the people in your life and the roles that they play. Because otherwise, you may step into a new you that's not actually you, and that can get rather frustrating, Cancer. It can get rather frustrating. But on the flip side, you can step into a new you, and because of a relationship that may pop up, and you may find a whole side of you that you didn't even know existed. And it can be super exciting and super amazing. And because it's interesting too, because since it's your 7th house, it's interesting because, yeah, it's the house of relationships, but relationships are like mirrors. They're like some of the biggest mirrors that we have as humans in life. So, effectively, you do change. It really is kind of like Capricorn, too. New year, new me. Cancers kind of experience this, too. They experience it a little bit more vicariously through other people, but as a result, they are a new person, too. So that's Cancer. Gemini. Gemini, this for you is the 8th house. So, new year, new me is all about transformation. And it's all about, you know, what secrets have you been hiding from yourself or holding from other people? Geminis usually go on a spree of starting to tell their secrets and revealing things to the world. And it's kind of interesting because, like, whenever it hits this time, you know, it's Gemini is just sort of like, you know, they can get rather intense. They'll start saying some of the craziest shit just to see if they can get a reaction out of you and stuff like that. But you have to also be careful about people doing this to you, too, Gemini. It's also a time, like I said, since it's the 8th house, having Capricorn as an 8th house is already freaking intense as hell, you know? So for you, in many ways, yeah, there's this huge massive transformation. I really don't know how else to describe it besides there is a sort of death that Geminis experience during Capricorn season. It's like they go from one persona to another because Geminis pretty much hold multiple personas over their whole life. And it's like, you know, it may look like the same person to some people, to most people. You may look like the same person, but really you have fundamentally changed because there are certain boundaries that are being established for you during the new year, and there are certain things that are cut off, but also at the same time, certain things are gained. So Geminis effectively go through a massive transformation during the new year. Sometimes it can come out a little bit more subtly because it's, it's fixed energy, but it's water still. So it can be a little bit more subtle, but it's effectively one of the more powerful transformations. I'm not saying that the other transformations or the other New Year's resolutions that the other signs go through aren't big. I'm just saying that Gemini's it's very potent. Let's just say that. What am I at? Taurus. Taurus, this is your 9th house. So when Taurus is saying new year, new me, this is about education. This is about their belief. This is about travel. So Tauruses may actually move to another location. They may, or they may they may move to another neighborhood or a new house. It doesn't have to be that far away. They may meet someone from a foreign land or whatever like that too. Or they may go back to school too. It's interesting too because, school starts back, during this time as well. So there's a sort of energy of education, a sort of energy of the adventure. Tauruses are very much so excited to go on the adventure again whenever the new year. They see the new year as an adventure. And it's interesting too because if you look at the astrological new year beginning in Aries, and then Taurus is right there at the 2nd house. So there's this sort of anticipation, they sort of get it. And it's earth energy too, so they vibe with it. Aries. It's your 10th house. So, of course, Aries are definitely focused on their career, their purpose, and their goals, and their status. It's their house of your exaltation. Mars' exaltation is Capricorn. So you are definitely looking at the top of the mountain, and you're not really willing to, yield your vision for any type of distractions and shit. You're really focused on that goal, right? And you're gonna go get it no matter what anyone fucking says. So Aries become rather savage during the new year, probably because they're a little upset that we don't acknowledge as a collective, as a whole collective, as Earth, that the new year begins in Aries season. So they're kind of pissed off about it from that aspect. But they're like, you know what? Mars is exalted in Capricorn anyways, so it's kind of like a new year for me anyways. So I'm going to just go get it anyways. That's Aries, right? That's Aries. Just be careful not to just ruin perfectly good relationships on the way up. Aries, okay? Now we come to Pisces. Pisces, this is the 11th house. So new year, new me is definitely talking about the community. It's talking about your relationship to the collective. It's talking about humanitarian efforts in many ways. And this can be a time where Pisces may try and find another type of ideology to attach onto. So as, in many ways, it can be sort of as an escape, but they may find a group of people to try and join. So whenever the new year comes, Pisces wants to all right, so I want to join a new group. So they may join the group of, sea turtle conservation or something like that. Or they may join the group of, Generation 1 Pokemon are the best and fuck all the other ones, right? They may do this. And here's the thing though, they can get lost into these certain groups, whatever like that, and they can find it as a sort of escapism, but they are wanting to certainly find a good cause to stand behind. So, Pisces, the new year for you is you wanting to find a good and new cause to sort of stand behind. Now, of course, you have to be careful about, once again, when you get involved with these groups of people, it is the sum of its parts. So there may be individuals within that sum that you may not necessarily vibe with, and you might find yourself trying to swim, swim your way through and try and find the right kind of people to vibe with. And a lot of times what will happen with Pisces is that they may join a big group, but then they'll find a close-knit group of maybe 3 or 4 individuals that they really vibe with. And they may end up actually leaving the group and sort of doing their own thing too. So that's kind of interesting. Aquarius. Aquarius, last but not least, this is for you, your 12th house. So new year, new me. It's kind of a wild card for Aquarius. Because anything could happen. And it's kind of hidden. So a lot of your changes are very, very subconscious and won't really be revealed to you until the year continues to move forward. I mean, I would say pretty much until the sun hits Aries, maybe even Taurus or so, you're not really going to know. You may make changes, you may make resolutions and all that sort of stuff like that, but it's like your soul is making resolutions that you're not consciously aware of, and you won't be consciously aware of them until later in the year. So it's sort of like a wild card with Aquarius. But Aquarius is up to the challenge, and Aquarius also has the wit to navigate, even if they're not necessarily consciously aware of some of these changes that's happening. There's also, of course, the dreams of Aquarius also get very intense during this time. They become very vivid, and Aquarius is this is a time where it's right before their season, right? So it's right before Aquarius season, and so this is a time where Aquarius is depending upon kind of where their vibration is, they either become very, very social or they become a hermit. So if your local Aquarius disappears during the first several weeks of the new year, that's why. Because they kind of went into hermit mode. If they don't, then, they just went in that direction. So, and there's not really an in-between, honestly. So, it's kind of a wild card for Aquariuses, but regardless of what house this is for you, everyone's making changes and everyone's stepping into new freshness. Even though astrologically Aries is the beginning of the year, there is something to be said about what happens when the sun reaches this spot in Capricorn on January 1st. And there's something to be said about, it ruling status, goals, careers, us making plans, making choices, making decisions. It makes sense why people do it during this time. And of course, Mars' exaltation, the actions that it's going to take to reach the top of that mountain. It makes sense. Stepping into this whole new year, 2020, this whole decade, it's going to be rather crazy and intense. Especially coming up with this eclipse that's coming up very, very soon, in less than a week. And then, of course, we have the big Saturn-Pluto conjunction. So, anyways, I just wanted to talk a little bit about that. I'm going to end this off by drawing one card. This ended up going a little bit longer than I thought, but it's okay, and things happen, right? So I'm going to draw one card and get out of here. But I wish you all a wonderful new year, a wonderful new decade, and I trust that you go out and you make your dreams a reality, and even if you happen to fall on your face a few times, have some attempts that may not necessarily go your way, that you continue to move forward, stay focused, and smile often. I don't say that for no reason. I really do mean those words. Move forward, keep moving forward, stay focused, and smile often. But the card that we got, guys, you can't make this shit up, is the Page of freaking Wands. It's the Page of Wands. You have the power. And I like to think of pages as students, right? It's not the knight, it's not, the king or queen, whatever like that. It's the page. They are a student. So you are a student of the craft. But with that wand, wasn't I just talking about Harry Potter earlier? Yeah, you got the invitation to Hogwarts. You got your wand now. Now, what are you going to do with it? And different people study different things. There are different types of magic too. So we don't all have to do the same thing. That's the cool thing about this whole spiritual journey, this whole life, and this whole adventure, is that we can become proficient in different kinds of magic. So what are you going to choose, beloved? What are you going to choose? That does it for this video. I hope that you all enjoyed it. Probably be making more kind of videos like this, talking about different transits during different times of the year, what they kind of mean and stuff like that for the different signs and everything. But I thought I'd make a year kind of like introducing this whole new year and stuff like that. And I will be seeing you all very soon. I love you all so much. Y'all take care. Stay blessed. Thank you for all of your continued support. And as always, my beautiful brothers and sisters, always remember to keep moving forward, to stay focused, and Yahoo! Smile often. Peace.